Hi, I'm Celine Milk-Carrick. I'm the Volunteer Program Director at PAWS Chicago, and I'm excited to talk today about PAWS Chicago's volunteer program, which is a critical pillar in our no-kill model. So PAWS Chicago's success is really rooted in our comprehensive no-kill model, which is designed to bring an end to the killing of homeless pets. And you'll see on the screen here a diagram of our no-kill model and how it includes 4 pillars: prevention, adoptions, animal health and behavior, and volunteers. And these pillars are all supported by our foundation of community engagement. And together, they put into action all of the life-saving work that is required to build no-kill communities. Volunteers are engaged in every aspect at PAWS Chicago, supporting our day-to-day operations at our adoption centers and in our shelter medicine program. They participate in our behavior modification and enrichment programs for both canines and for felines. They're pivotal to our adoption and our spay-neuter programs, and they're on the front lines in our community with our community outreach and our education programming. So simply put, our volunteer program helps make everything we do possible. PAWS Chicago is able to save nearly 6,000 animals each year with a 98% save rate because of the dedication of our volunteers. It would be impossible for a no-kill shelter to save this many pets each year and cover its costs without volunteers. And this is because killing is not a management tool in a no-kill shelter. Our focus is on caring for and treating each and every pet. So naturally, it follows that no-kill shelters are more expensive to operate because more effort and more resources are required for every animal. And at PAWS, we treat every pet as an individual with a customized care plan depending on his or her needs. Since our founding in 1997, the number of homeless pets that have been euthanized at the Chicago City Pound has dropped by 80%. And these numbers are really encouraging. However, nearly 9,000 dogs and cats were killed in Chicago shelters last year, so we know that our work is not done. So in the no-kill movement, we know that every number is important because every life counts. And I want to share a few numbers about PAWS. In 2015, PAWS found homes for over 5,900 animals. We performed more than 18,000 free and low-cost spay-neuter surgeries, and we provided more than 41,000 vaccinations, microchips, and blood tests. We're consistently voted a top animal welfare charity by Charity Navigator, the country's premier independent charity evaluator. And of course, my favorite figure to share, 117,007 hours were donated by volunteers in 2015. That is the equivalent of an additional 56.3 full-time employees, and this number is truly what makes all of the other numbers possible. So at PAWS, we're dedicated to building no-kill communities, starting with a no-kill Chicago where all healthy and treatable pets are saved. We focus on engaging the community to help us solve the pet overpopulation problem. Involving the public in the cause of homeless animals and providing them with the information that they need to make life-saving choices is the only way to build a sustainable no-kill community. And we find that when people find out what pets are facing in our current sheltering system, they're more inspired to adopt, to volunteer, to donate, or to spread the word about the importance of spay and neuter. So again, it's the power of community engagement that fuels our life-saving efforts, and it is behind everything that we do. On to our volunteers. We like to say here at PAWS that volunteers are the life force behind every aspect of our efforts, working 365 days a year in every single aspect of our organization. As I mentioned, in 2015, volunteer hours equaled the work of 56 full-time employees, and this translates to a financial impact that's equal to $1.18 million. Because of our volunteers, we're able to spend our resources on animal care and medical treatment and on enrichment for our animals. Plus, our volunteers give us really valuable external feedback, encouraging us to continue to think creatively and to innovate new solutions to the challenges that we encounter. Now I'm going to speak a little bit more about what volunteers do at PAWS. The medical center is a place where all of our animals begin their journey with PAWS. And while they're there, each animal receives all of the medical or additional care that they might need before they clear for adoption. Volunteers at the medical center provide day-to-day animal care. They socialize our cats, they clean kennels, they walk dogs, they manage playgroups, and they organize all of the donations. They also support our veterinary teams within our innovative shelter medicine program. And we have an elite training program where our volunteers can learn the necessary protocols to work with animals who are in isolation, really providing much-needed socialization to some of those pets who need it the most. Everything that volunteers do at the medical center helps to prepare our animals for the next step, foster or adoption. PAWS has 2 adoption centers, the Pippin Faceas Adoption Center in Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood, and the Glenn L. Fellner North Shore Adoption Center in Highland Park, Illinois. Volunteers at our adoption centers work with both animals and people. They care for the cats in what we call Kitty City. They walk and socialize our dogs in Dogtown, and they generally keep the adoption center and our animal suites clean and comfortable. They also focus on getting to know the potential adopters and providing them with the educational information and the resources to help them find their perfect match. One of our hallmark programs at PAWS is our Canine Enrichment and Behavior Modification Program. And this program encompasses 3 levels of volunteer training, each designed to give volunteers the tools and the skills that they need to help enrich the lives of our homeless dogs. Our dog volunteer program is overseen by Joan Harris, our Director of Canine Behavior. And brand new volunteers at PAWS begin in Level 1. They participate in a classroom training that's led by an experienced dog volunteer, and then they volunteer alongside mentor volunteers for their first 2 shifts so that they can learn the ropes of our facilities. Once they're trained, our Level 1 volunteers work with Level 1 dogs and puppies, walking them, showing them to potential adopters, and again, helping to ensure that their rooms, their bedding, their dishes are all clean. Level 2 is the next step for our PAWS dog volunteer, and after a 6-week training course, our volunteers learn the skills that are necessary to work with dogs who need a more experienced handler. They also learn fundamentals of clicker training and basic obedience, and then they can participate in dog training and agility classes for our resident dogs. Level 3 is the final level for PAWS dog volunteers. And in their 6-week training course, they learn to work with dogs in our Level 3 program, many of whom are overcoming neglect, trauma, or insufficient socialization. Level 3 volunteers function truly as an extension of our staff. They run daily dog play groups, and they're responsible for overseeing many of our dog-to-dog introductions and our room pairings. And because Level 3 volunteers develop such an advanced knowledge of canine behavior, they're really highly prepared to answer questions from potential adopters and help find good matches for our Level 3 dogs. Volunteers also help in our Lurie Clinic. The Lurie Clinic is the largest free and low-cost spay-neuter clinic in Chicago and one of the largest in the country. And volunteers help support the clinic by cleaning, prepping supplies, and caring for the animals as they're recovering from surgery. They also help in front of house by providing great customer service and administrative support to the families of the 85 patients that we spay or neuter on the average day. Our community outreach programs bring pet services and resources directly into the communities that need it the most in the city of Chicago. We know that the 3 biggest barriers for underserved communities to receive spay and neuter are lack of transportation, lack of information, and lack of finances. We work to overcome these barriers by providing free spay and neuter, breaking down access barriers, and forging relationships in a non-judgmental way. Our volunteers work with our staff social worker, and they go door to door in underserved communities, building relationships with pet owners. Other roles. I know you've heard me say it already, but volunteers truly do touch every aspect of our organization, and there are too many roles available to possibly list on a slide, but there is an opportunity to match every skill set and every individual. And as we continue to grow and evolve as an organization, volunteers are a critical component of all of our new program development. We factor in volunteer involvement early in the planning process so that we are better able to allocate our resources and make smart decisions that will ultimately empower us to save more lives. The Volunteer Management Apprenticeship at PAWS Chicago will showcase the various phases of the volunteer life cycle. We'll be discussing our recruitment strategies, our training curriculums, and our onboarding procedures. and basically our day-to-day integration of volunteers into operations. We'll also talk about continuing education and advancement opportunities, as well as our ongoing efforts to recognize and appreciate our volunteers. Our volunteer program apprenticeship focuses on the idea of optimizing volunteer engagement. So a successful volunteer program, we know it connects volunteers directly to the mission. It gets them in the door, and that also keeps them connected through the years. And to do this, we engage our volunteers in both the causes of the pet overpopulation problem, as well as showing them how they are part of the solution. Another main tenet of our volunteer program at PAWS is training. We offer a variety of trainings tailored to different learning styles, and we also offer advancement opportunities, such as the levels that we discussed for dog volunteers earlier in the presentation. Strong staff and volunteer relationships are absolutely critical to optimizing a volunteer program. And at PAWS, we work really hard to develop these strong volunteer-staff relationships and to clearly define volunteer roles so that we're setting up both the staff on hand as well as the volunteers up for success in their work together. Recognition and appreciation. PAWS volunteers are so incredible that sometimes it does not seem possible to thank them enough, but we know that saying thank you matters, and we will talk about recognition strategies during our apprenticeship as well. So we are really looking forward to hosting this volunteer program apprenticeship this spring, and thanks very much to the generosity of Maddie's Fund. Our apprentices will participate in a 3-day curriculum where they will learn firsthand about our volunteer program here at PAWS. And some of the things that we'll talk about are integrating volunteers into your shelter, creating a culture that really embraces volunteers, building those effective relationships between volunteers and staff, understanding and planning for the volunteer life cycle, and planning for volunteers as part of new program development. This program will be a great opportunity for anyone who's looking to develop or strengthen their own shelter's volunteer structure. So to learn more about the apprenticeship or to submit your application, please fill out the application on the Maddie's Fund website. Thank you so much for taking the time to learn a little bit more about PAWS Chicago.